So here's something important I need to clarify, because I don't want you to hear me saying that meditation doesn't help with anxiety or that you're never going to feel calmer. Because after 22 years of sustained practice, I can tell you this: you will experience more consistent calm. A regular meditation practice does regulate your nervous system over time. Your baseline anxiety decreases, you return to center more quickly, you have moments of genuine peace, and that's real. That actually does happen. All right, we're starting off today with something that might mess with everything you think meditation is for. And that is that the goal of meditation is not to be calm. I know. I teach meditation and I practice for over 22 years. And I'm telling you that right now, if your goal with your meditation or any contemplative practice is just to feel constant calm, you're setting yourself up for failure. And here's why. Calm is a state. States come and go. Can't control them, and you definitely cannot hold on to them. But if we talk about capacity is a skill. And there's a massive difference between building the capacity to be present under pressure and chasing the feeling of being relaxed or calm. One keeps you dependent on conditions being just right, but the other one can really change how you live. So today we're talking about why feeling better isn't actually the goal of this work, why meditation apps for the most part get it wrong, and why leaders, change makers, and really anyone doing meaningful work in the world needs something completely different than what our wellness culture is selling. So let's dig in a little bit. So first part is this calm trap. So let's start here. What is calm actually? Calm is a temporary state where your nervous system has downregulated. Your heart rate is slower, your breath is deeper, you feel relaxed, peaceful, like everything's okay. And look, I'm not against calm. I love calm. Calm is lovely when it shows up. It's great. But here's a problem with making calm your goal. It's completely unreliable. It's dependent on so many external forces that we don't have control over. We can't control whether or not we feel calm, and we can't force it, and we can't maintain it when life gets hard. So if calm is the metric for whether your practice is working, you're going to think that you're failing most of the time. I see this constantly. Someone starts meditating because they want to feel calmer, and that's totally natural. And for a little while, it works. We have some peaceful sessions, we feel like we're getting somewhere, but then as soon as life gets chaotic, our work explodes, a family crisis hits, the world feels like it's coming apart, we all know that. Then we sit down to meditate and, well, no calm, just lots of noise, anxiety, racing thoughts, and then we think, this isn't working anymore. Am I doing this wrong? Maybe I'm not good at meditation. I can't meditate like this. But that's not what's happening, because what's happening is that we've been measuring the wrong thing. Because calm is not what meditation actually builds. It's not what it's meant to build. Presence is what meditation builds, and presence doesn't require calm. Presence is the capacity to be what's actually here, whether it's calm or chaotic, comfortable, difficult, pleasant, or painful. Calm says, I can be here when everything just feels right and good. But when you have presence, it says, I can be here no matter what. And if you're doing work that matters in the world, if you're leading in complex situations, if you're showing up for people who need you, if you're navigating uncertainty and difficulty, like so many of us are, you don't just need calm, you actually need capacity. So before I go any further, I want to make an important distinction, because there's a difference between nervous system regulation and avoiding discomfort. And wellness culture has completely confused the two. Nervous system regulation is real and it's necessary. When our system is genuinely dysregulated, when we're in a threat response, when our bodies are thinking there's a tiger in the room, you need to downregulate. That's not optional. That's a biological reality. But here's also what I'm seeing. We have completely pathologized all discomfort. So anytime we're feeling stress, anxiety, restlessness, discomfort, the message that we get is, that's bad. You need to stop. You need to regulate. You need to be calm. And then we get into this whole cycle when we can't get calm, we think we're doing it wrong. But the thing is that some discomfort is growth. Sometimes stress is challenge. Sometimes the hard thing is exactly what we actually need. So running away from it does not serve us. And if we treat every uncomfortable sensation as a threat that something's wrong, we're not building resilience, we're building fragility. And so this is where the new work, particularly with Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, is so amazing on these alternative stress responses. When there's an actual threat, your body perceiving danger, this depletes you because your body is gearing up for fighting or freezing. But there's also another response that we don't recognize, which is a challenge response, where our body is mobilizing energy to meet a demand. And this can actually strengthen you. They look similar, so sometimes it's hard to understand the difference, but the effect is completely different if we can start to recognize the distinction of the two. So the question is this a true threat or challenge? Or is this a place where I can sit with this discomfort and rise to the occasion and figure out how to stay in this moment, be present with the discomfort, and build the capacity to work with it? And at the end of the day, I really believe that this is what meditation actually trains. Not the ability just to feel calm all the time, but to be present when you feel all of the different ranges of feeling. So, let me tell you what this practice has looked like for me. I've worked in peace building and international development for over 15 years in very high stakes, difficult situations where people's lives were literally on the line. And what I learned is that people who could actually function in those environments were definitely not the calmest people, but they were the ones with the most capacity. They could be present with overwhelming information without shutting down. They could hold multiple conflicting truths at once without collapsing into some type of certainty. They could feel their fear, their doubt, their own exhaustion, but still show up and make the right decision. That's not calm, that's capacity. And capacity is a skill you build through practice. So when you sit down in meditation and your mind is noisy, when you're restless, when you'd rather sometimes be anywhere else, that's not failure. That's actually the training that we need, because we're learning I can be with this discomfort. I don't have to fix it. I don't have to escape or make it go away. I can just be here. And that skill, that transfers to everything. When a difficult conversation comes up at work, you don't shut down. You can be present. When your kid is having a meltdown and you're exhausted, you don't check out. You can be present. And when the world feels overwhelming and you want to completely collapse into doom scrolling, you don't escape. You can just be present. Not because you feel calm, but because you've built this inner capacity to be here anyway. This is what meditation is actually for. Not necessarily to make you feel better, but to make you comfortable. Okay, so if this is resonating with you, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel, perhaps think about leaving a comment, because every week I share practices and insights for building the capacity to sustain meaningful work. So if you want to go deeper, check out the link in the description for my newsletter, where I will share even more on this work. But okay, let's keep going. So what practices actually help us build this capacity? So here's something important I need to clarify, because I don't want you to hear me saying that meditation doesn't help with anxiety or that you're never going to feel calmer. Because after 22 years of sustained practice, I can tell you this: you will experience more consistent calm. A regular meditation practice does regulate your nervous system over time. Your baseline anxiety decreases, you return to center more quickly, you have moments of genuine peace, and that's real. That actually does happen. But here's what's different. You're not calm because you've eliminated difficulty from your life. You're not calm because nothing bothers you anymore, or because you've transcended, into some other like subhuman realm. You're calmer because you've built the capacity to be with anxiety when it shows up, and it will. You're calmer because you know how to work with discomfort instead of being hijacked by it. And you've developed the skills of presence that allows you to meet difficulty without collapsing. I still experience anxiety. I still have moments of overwhelm. I still face situations that trigger my nervous system. But here's what's changed. I don't spiral. I don't get lost in it. I don't believe every anxious thought my mind generates. I can feel the anxiety and still make clear decisions. I can be uncomfortable and still show up for what matters. And I can experience difficulty and know that it's not going to swallow me whole. That's not because I've achieved some permanent state of calm. It's because I've built capacity. I always think of it as like physical fitness. If you train consistently, you get stronger. Your baseline capacity increases. Things that used to exhaust you become manageable. But that doesn't mean you never get tired. It doesn't mean exercise stops being hard. It means you've built the strength to do hard things, and you recover faster when you do. The same is true for meditation and what I call building our mind muscle. Sustained practice builds that mental and emotional fitness. Your baseline improves, you're more regulated, you're more grounded, you're more present, but you're still going to face difficulty. You're still going to experience anxiety and discomfort and uncertainty sometimes. But the difference is you'll know how to be with it. And that changes everything. So let's bring this home and be honest. In the times we're living, we're doing our work, we're trying to do the best we can. But what we all need, and we're going to need in the future, is this tolerance for difficulty, not constant ease, because that is not going to fix things. Not feeling good all the time, not this calm as a permanent state. We are all collectively going to need the capacity to stay present when things get hard, when the decisions aren't clear, when the stakes are high, when people are counting on us and we don't necessarily have all the answers. And this is really what this, 22 years of meditation have really given me. It's not a life free from anxiety. It's not free from difficulty, but it is the capacity to be with what shows up, to sit in uncertainty without needing to resolve it immediately, to feel my own fear without letting it drive all the decisions that I make, which it did for a long time, but also to be present with other people's fear and pain, and also not feeling like I need to fix or escape it. Am I calmer than I was 22 years ago when I started to practice? Definitely. Of course I am. But I'm also no longer afraid of the anxiety or the fear because I know how to work with it. And that's what really can change everything. So if you've been thinking about meditation or meditating because you feel so much anxiety or want to feel calmer, I totally get it. But I invite you to think deeper about this practice and stop measuring something that is out of your control. Like I said, sustained practice will definitely bring you more calm over time. But what it's really doing is building that capacity to be present with whatever arises. So we can ask ourselves, can I be with this? Can I stay with this when I want to leave? Can I work with my mind and this body in this moment just as it is? Because that's the skill. That's what builds over time. And that's what allows us to sustain this work and all work, not just in the short term, but over decades. So, wrapping up here, I just want to say the world does not need more people who look for calm over what needs to be done. The world needs people who can stay present when the conditions aren't perfect. People who can hold complexity without collapsing, navigate uncertainty with groundedness, lead through difficulty without shutting down. That's what this world needs and is going to need. And that's the capacity that we can build through practice. Not because it feels amazing and good all the time, but because it works. So thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more, and I will see you next week when we're going to be talking about why discipline is actually the deepest form of self-care. So until then, keep on building your groundwork.